Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by.
On the morning shift.
Anything could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
All right, good morning. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. Glad to be here with you. We're so glad that you're here with us right after the long weekend, Victoria Day long weekend. I hope you had a great time, able to enjoy some nice weather between Sunday and yesterday. We had some not bad weather, better on Sunday than yesterday even, but nonetheless, some nice weather. And so I hope you're able to enjoy that. And we're live right now. We're back. We're happy to be back. CKLU 96.7 FM, CKLU.ca. We're streaming on the internet as well as being live on the radio. If you go to CKLU.ca and you want to stream us, you just click on the Radio Player Canada app and voila, you can stream us. You can also download the same Radio Player Canada app and take us with you and listen to us and other great programming from CKLU anytime, anywhere on your favorite device. Now, we're also live on Facebook.com/Sudbury News, YouTube.com/Sudbury News. And so we'd like to make sure that everyone knows that it's important to like, share, subscribe, follow. But mainly, we encourage everybody to comment on the show because it is your show on your station. We'll do our best to read the comments for those listening. Sometimes the comments get, there's too many of them to read, and it's almost it is impossible sometimes, but that is a good thing. It means that most people are in the conversation, are into what we're talking about, and that's what the show is for. And with that, we already have people chiming in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us already on, 6 now. It's probably because it's been a long weekend. Usually we have about 15 or so by now. Yeah, with that, thanks everybody for commenting and good morning. Judy, thanks for being with us. Hope you had a great weekend. Brian Poulain and from Pocket Media, good morning, Sudbury campers. And Monique, good morning, everyone. Thanks for being with us as well. Hope you had a good morning as well. I hope you're having a good morning, but also had a good weekend. Melinda, good morning. And we are wishing everyone a wonderful day. Thanks for the positivity. Much appreciated. And David with his usual, and we appreciate that. Stay safe for sure. It's a timeless one. You always want to be safe, and there's no questioning that for sure. Now, we might even talk a little bit about that, David. So hopefully I remember this, and it segues into a national story that we're going to be talking about today on digital currency and some of the pros and cons of what we're more than likely expecting to be a worldwide currency that's changing from our current model to a digital model. And we'll talk about some of the pros, the cons, the good, the bad, the ugly on that, and all in the guises of safety and so we'll get into that a little bit later. So thanks for being with us as well. Denise joining us, and we're grateful to be back. That's all I got to say. We're going to dive right in. We got some weather, we got some sports, got a lot of headlines to cover, local and abroad. So welcome all of you people that are joining us, not from Sudbury. So obviously from Sudbury as well, but from joining us, whether you lived in Sudbury at one time or you are from Sudbury and you're listening to CKLU online, or you are watching this because you want to stay connected to what's going on in Sudbury, I'd like to welcome you as well. So let's dive right in. We'll see how the weather is in Sudbury for today and throughout the week. And we'll be back with that and a little bit of sports, your headlines, and your comments right after this. As usual, Sudbury Weather brought to you by sudburyweather.ca. Lands on our Sudbury.news Facebook page. It's a work in progress. If you have any suggestions, just let us know how we can make our website better. 8 degrees currently, mainly sunny. And good news in the forecast for today, sunny. Wind becoming southwest, 30 kilometers and gusting to 50 this morning, high 22. UV index is 8 or very high. Tonight, mainly cloudy, a few showers beginning this evening and ending before the morning. The wind will be southwest, again, 30 to 50 kilometers. The low of +2 tonight. Now, Wednesday's clearing in the morning, and the winds will be gusting up to 50 kilometers again. High of 13, a little cooler. UV index 6 or high, so a little cooler tomorrow. So again, clearing, high of 13 tomorrow. And Thursday and Friday so far, sunny both days. 16 degrees is your high. On Thursday and Friday, 21. So getting to be, some warmer days happening. And speaking of that, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, 24, 26, and 28 degrees each day, forecasted so far to be a mix of sun and clouds. So the weather looking pretty nice for the foreseeable future. And a little look at your satellite shows, intermittent clouds just here and there, but for the most part over northern Ontario, mainly sunny. So that's great news for me and hopefully for you as well. And we'll be back right after this. That's your Sudbury Weather brought to you by sudburyweather.ca. We'll be back with a little bit of sports right after this. And your Sudbury Sports brought to you by sudburysports.com. It is Randy Pascal, who's that Sudbury Sports Guy's website. And for all things Sudbury Sports, visit sudburysports.com. Now, we had a couple football games, Spartans under 16 and under 18 this weekend. And great news on both fronts. They're solid football teams, both of them. And so we had both of them came out on top with wins. So the headline is the Junior Spartans under 16 pickup where they left off in 2022 with season opener over Etobicoke right here in Greater Sudbury. So it might have taken them a quarter or so to get their game feet back under them, but by the end of the season opening, they came out victorious, 36-0. Over the visiting Etobicoke Eagles. It was clear the members of the Sudbury Spartans under 16 squad have absolutely no intention of resting on their laurels. But then also, the good news is that the under 18 team also picked up a win against the Clarington Knights on the road, winning their game 19-0. So this is football season in Sudbury. Get out and support your Sudbury Spartans, no matter what level they're at here in town, and follow them on their Facebook pages and support local sports as much as you can, as we should be supporting all things local to keep our economy and our community alive and well. Speaking of that, also this station, if you wanted to support the station to keep us going and keep us alive and well, all you have to do is go to cklu.ca and click on the support button. And any support is much appreciated. That's your Sudbury Sports, brought to you by sudburysports.com. We'll be back with headlines, your comments, and much, much more right after this. All right, and we're back, and we're going to be looking at some headlines. Go through our Facebook feed, which we share all of the stories that we'll be talking about on the show. That's the main reason for it. It would be great to have all local news all the time, but sifting through it, if you want all local news all the time, you go to sudbury.news, sudbury.news. and you just go to local, or even on the main page, you just keep scrolling down, and it's a local news aggregator where all the news from all of our local journalism outlets are found automatically aggregated in one location. And this isn't to be in competition with any of our local journalists whatsoever. We don't do this to compete with them. It's more or less co-opetition, where we're cooperating and we're supporting local journalism, because we're putting it all in one place. So you can look at the headlines, and as soon as you see something that you want to read more on, you click on it. And it doesn't stay on our page. It's not like it's stealing. It's actually promoting. It's like advertising on a bulletin board, and then you click on it and it goes to their website. So they get the counts for their advertising, counting for your eyeballs on their page, and it supports local journalism, because if they have enough views on their stories, enough eyeballs, they can sell advertising. They make money that way. And any videos they have that they share that have over a certain amount of views, they can get paid directly from either YouTube or Facebook, depending where they place their videos. So this is a way to support local journalism. We're doing our small part in doing that. And at the same time, we like to highlight their stories on this show, where we can unpack some of what they're talking about and try and make more sense of the community that we live in and the world as well that the community is a part of. So with that, we have a few more people joining us. Vin, morning. Hope you're doing great this morning, Vin. Much appreciated. Hope you had a great weekend as well. It's Tracy. Happy, bright, sunshiny morning to you all, for sure. Again, the positiveness, much appreciated. And definitely Brian is joining us. He's working on his tech segment. So hopefully we'll have more with Brian joining us in the future with all things tech, trying to understand that aspect. And that's going to be a story we'll talk about a little bit later on in the show, is the digital currency that we can all look forward to coming to a bank near you. Here's the first headline from Sudbury.com. The headline is, the Board of Health wants mandatory life jackets for all boaters. When I hear the word mandatory, I just get this, an aversion to the word, force you to do something. Okay, so there could be the odd thing to be forced to do. It totally makes sense, right? It's for your safety, nonetheless, that you're being forced to be safe, mandatory. Board of Health wants mandatory life jackets for all boaters. The argument is that far more adults die from drowning and other boating misadventures than children, and that wearing life jackets should be a rule for everyone. So I don't know if that's something that y'all agree with as well, that it's kind of like seatbelts, right? Seatbelts is for your safety, and you're going to have to pay a fine if you're not taking precaution for your own safety. I always thought that was odd. So seatbelts are a law. You have to wear them when you get in the car, and if you don't, we're going to fine you. But if you got in an accident and you were harmed, it's going to harm you. Now, the argument can be made that your body could be a projectile and it could harm other people as well if you get in an accident. So I'll give you that. So you need to wear seatbelts. That way, if you get in an accident, not only would you prevent harm for yourself, but possibly for other people as well. And you might save a little bit on the resources that we have, ambulance, hospital, and whatever, limiting the amount of harm you undertake if you did get in an accident, correct? So, but are you in favor? Mandatory life jackets for everyone? I know parents make sure their children have them on, and the argument is here, more adults die than children because children are wearing them. And with that, good morning, Chris. Thanks for being with us. Good morning, ladies and gents, or ladies and gentlemen. Hope you had a great weekend, Chris. Thanks for being on today. Monique, good day, y'all. or good day all. I put the y'all in there. So Chris says he agrees with it, but once you are at your spot, you should be allowed to take it off. Oh, interesting. Okay, that's an interesting spin on it. So believe in mandatory life jackets for while you're traveling in the boat, not necessarily just stationary and fishing possibly, right? That could be bulky and in your way and whatever. Mandatory is not law, and it's all a big money grab. Well, I guess case in point with the idea of the seatbelts, wearing seatbelts. It's been a great moneymaker over the years. I'm sure if we had the stats on how much were collected for it. So sorry about the last. Okay, not a problem. Not a problem, Brian. You're allowed to have clumsy fingers on the show and commenting. Doesn't mean it's hard for me to read actual words anyways with my eyes, let alone gibberish. So if I see something I can't understand, I'll just move on anyways. So yeah, so mandatory life jackets. Are you in favor or are you not? More than likely it'll be coming. I could see it already. I did thank you. I did. Thank you. I went scuba diving and in Capriol at Moose Mountain and went fishing this weekend. Hope you also had a great weekend. Yes, I did, Chris. It was a complicated weekend though. Some family issues going on. I tried to take a longer weekend. I was able to take the Friday as well. But yeah, just life kind of happened, but I was able to enjoy it through that as well. And life happens to everybody, right? So, but yeah, thanks for asking, much appreciated. And you did get some fishing in, which is great. Here's the next headline from again Sudbury.com. We have a few from Sudbury.com today. Free bus rides for seniors during Tuesdays in June. So the city's elected officials opted to celebrate Seniors Month, which I guess this month is Seniors Month. There's a month for everything, a day for everything, a week for everything. Hard to keep on top of it all. However, by offering free transit and Gova Plus service during Tuesdays in June, they're going to lose an estimated $11,200. So speaking of making money through different means, services and whatever, they're going to, I guess they're offering this, even though they're losing 11 grand, you can take the bus for free on Tuesdays. So hopefully it lines up with the days they would normally commute for different services anyways. I know Natalie Labby is in that picture. And so I know she is closely tied to the seniors center downtown and somewhat of an advocate for seniors. And so I'm sure that can't hurt. And I'm almost there myself. So at some point it'd be nice if I was able to take the bus for free on one day a week for 1 month, at least. Help me out a little bit. Laurentian University to hold healing sessions after difficult years. This from Sudbury.com as well. We need to acknowledge that many of our faculty and staff are dealing with trauma and loss. There was a memo that was sent out. From the with Laurentian University exiting restructuring under a company's creditor arrangement act last year, the university is planning upcoming healing sessions for those impacted by the events of the past couple of years. Sessions will take place May 29th and 30th in the Indigenous Sharing and Learning Center Round Room. So Sudbury.com reached out to Laurentian University to ask more about these healing sessions, but were not granted an interview. That's interesting. Although we did hear this morning on CBC, somebody from that started the fund for the faculty, 100 and some people affected by that, just losing their jobs, losing their benefits, and talking about the plight that they've had to go through. Many of them who are suffering from different ailments, who were able to utilize the benefits in the past, were not able to, and that affected them. And so they can apply for a one-time payment to help them. But no, I know I had professors, I was graduating at the time, who were affected, and you can, their whole countenance, you could tell they were devastated for losing their jobs. Who wouldn't be devastated for losing a job, especially in academia? Usually your jobs are pretty safe, and you wouldn't even think that you'd be fired, and the way they were was pretty disheartening. So the past 2 years have been difficult for Laurentian University. While university strives to move forward, rebuild and thrive, we need to acknowledge that many of our faculty and staff are dealing with trauma and loss, said a memo sent to Laurentian's community about the 2 sessions. So there'll be also workshops take place the following week, allowing participants to reflect on the previous week's session, and will equip the individuals with resilient strategies in support of developing healthy ways to cope and thrive, said the memo. The sessions will be delivered by TELUS Health, formerly LifeWorks, and they will also manage registration, ensuring complete confidentiality. So if you are working at Laurentian, you're affected by that, you would want to take part in it. It's not easy, again, to lose your job, lose your status. It's a status thing in academia as well. I'm a professor, but if you lose your job, it's, just like anybody losing their job, but it's a few more layers in the world of academia. Let's see here. Yeah, exactly. Back to the seniors story. Gives them a break from their previous. So Chris is chiming in, says that's smart. Finally, they get a break from transportation, that they should do this every Tuesday. And then Brian's coming in here about the life jackets are important, and he wasn't taught how to swim, not the traditional way. His dad just picked him up when he least expected it and literally tossed him into the lake. And his friend was the first and the last day. Okay, literally tossed him into the lake. And that was the first and last day of his swim lessons. Yeah, my uncle did the same thing to me, too. I said, I can't swim. And he just said, well, there's only one way to learn. He picked me up and he threw me out into the lake over my head. That's one way to teach you how to swim. So I guess I'm still here. But I'm still traumatized from it. But he bought me an ice cream cone afterwards, so I wouldn't tell my mom. Every worker that was dismissed because they would not take the shot needs to be acknowledged. That affected many, many families financially. It's still an uphill battle, shamefully. Yeah, so not only did a lot of the professors lose their station because of the insolvency, many people there and other places where they were mandated, speaking of mandating life jackets, they were mandated to take the shot, and those who opted not were fired from their jobs. And that was hugely devastating for many, many, many people. And so a lot of us can relate. Next headline, Sudbury.com again. Sudbury officers' motorcycle skills rank high in his field. So Greater Sudbury Police Service Constable Andrew Hines took some of the hardware home from the at 2 police motorcycle competitions in the United States earlier this month. So congratulations, Constable Hines, on your motorcycle skills. Much appreciated for that, giving Sudbury making Sudbury proud. Also, new construction going ahead. You know where the corner of Frood and the LaSalle extension is. So if you're coming from LaSalle extension from Chelmsford or from the Big Nickel Road towards Collège Boreal, and then you come across Froude Road there, or the opposite way, you're coming past, going around the roundabout in front of Collège Boreal and you're going towards LaSalle extension. Well, you get to the top of the hill with the lights. Well, there's going to be a roundabout there as well. So good news for all you roundabout fans, which I am one. Keeps the traffic flowing. Now, if they could only 4-lane the stretch between the Froude Road, where Froude Road is, and the LaSalle extension, the highway going out towards Chelmsford, that would be perfect, because then it would be 4 lanes all the way. And I do believe that's part of the plans. So hopefully they're able to do that as well. And that's what Miles is chiming in here, saying until they 4-lane from there to 144, there'll always be trouble. Next headline, also from Sudbury.com. A lot of Sudbury.com local stories over the weekend. Well, anyways, it's passed now. So it was just a story on all the municipal services that would be not available during the Victoria Day Monday holiday. Got a bit of a video here. I thought if we had some time, we could share it. It's from Sudbury.com as well. They have a podcast, pretty good podcast, called Inside the Village, where they, it's not a local podcast. They do mainly nationally recognized, they have nationally recognized guests, national stories usually on there, because they've, Village Media owns Sudbury.com. They started in Sault Ste. Marie quite some time ago, and they bought outfits like Laurentian Publishing, which owned Sudbury.com, along with other, and started their own. Right now they have hundreds of markets that they're in. So they have this podcast. And so in order to appeal to all of their viewers or readers, listeners, their content is mainly more of on a national scale. So here they interview Ron McLean about his relationship with Don Cherry. And I just thought there's some telling things in that interview. And just some insight into, they'd said 32 comments or something on the story for Sudbury.com. And I went to read the comments and there were none. Like I couldn't read them. But it said there was 32. So I don't know what's going on there. It didn't look like they stopped comments from happening, but I wasn't able to read any of them. So I don't know if there's a feature or something they have on their Facebook that only allows certain people to comment or read them. But to me, that's not cool. If you're on social media, meaning other people, that's where you interact. And so I thought, so I don't know where I found some comments, but they were similar to what I was getting from the video. So if we got some time, when we might today, we'll play a little bit of that for everybody. Headline from Sudbury.com again. The elderly hospital patients shipped faraway nursing homes. The Ontario government is saying, okay, we're going to move you wherever you want to go or not. And if you don't consent, we're going to choose a home for you. So that's basically the story there. That's another podcast, basically, the Inside the Village, speaking about this particular story that we've talked about at length with long-term healthcare in Ontario, where if you're in the hospital or you have a need, you're going to go wherever they tell you to go. It's not before you used to choose, you had your top 3. So I'm getting up in age and I'm seeing that I'm going to have a need, whether immediate or in the short future. So I get my name on lists and I go, okay, what's my number one choice? this is it. What's my second choice, third choice? So whenever a bed or a room comes up in one of those long-term healthcare facilities, I get a call. A room is available at this, whether it's a first choice, second choice, or third choice. Are you interested? And if you say no, you get so many strikes against you, and then you go down on the list again. And that was the process for years. But recently, because of bottleneck in the system, they had to deal with it somehow. I don't agree with it myself. They said, those of people who were in the hospital, they were going to get fined, was it $600 a day, something like that, if they didn't go along with going into whatever home they were told to go to. And in Northern Ontario, it could be as much as 150 kilometers away from your home. Southern Ontario, a little bit closer for some reason. That's, can you put yourself in that position, or your loved one? You got to go 150 kilometers away to visit them. And in the pandemic, it was already hard enough to begin with, right? So there you go. Brian's commenting on the roundabouts. Just want to move on here and let's see. So Brian says roundabouts are great when the driver knows how to use them. Of course, it helps. It helps our city engineers to know how to design them. Our city engineers could afford few lessons on rotary design basics. Oh, interesting. Yeah, to me, they work fairly well as soon as as long as you know how to use them. And the ones I've used in the city, I'm pretty cool with. Belinda's saying, I see that the government neglected the elderly during COVID for sure. So let's isolate them again. This is the decree. Where has all the money been going over the years to mend our healthcare services? That is the question, for sure. Again, going back to the model we have in Canada, our political model to govern is more of a socialist one. And so you give them the money and you hope that they're going to use it for what they say. Not that any other government can't do it in another model. There's corruption no matter, when I say corruption, I'm assuming if our money didn't go towards healthcare, it had to go somewhere else, and it's corrupt in that you said it was going to go to healthcare, but now what? So Dave is saying the long-term healthcare places are mostly privately owned. Government guarantees that the rooms will be taken. Food and care are optional, and you can't sue. Yeah. To me, that's kind of an odd system. It would be a lot better if you as an individual were contributing to your own future somehow, and you saw where all the money was, and it accumulated, and you can keep track of it through taxes or through your own efforts. And you knew that so much money was available for you, and you could choose better care for yourself at the end of your years. And I think a lot of us just put our trust in that, oh, don't worry, someone's going to take care of this for us. And then the sad news is when we get to that point in our lives, we realize that, wait a minute, there's some balls being dropped here, and some people weren't looking out for my best interests. And now I'm in a nefarious position when I'm vulnerable. And it's sad. A society that can't take care of its elderly, that's a pretty sad, reflection of a society, I would think, that they would be the people you'd want to take care of for sure, your children, your elderly. And it doesn't look like we're doing a good job at either of them. Long-term healthcare, case in point. Speaking of taking care of our citizens, harms of safe drug supply program outweigh benefits. This is the headline from the Sudbury Star. This is from an addictions specialist. So a London doctor at the center of national political debate. So a London doctor at the center of a national political debate on opioid programs. I do believe I have this story already opened up. She says that she had no intention of becoming a talking point for the federal Conservative Party. Okay. A London doctor at the center of political debate. Okay. I already read that. But remaining silent isn't an option in the face of evidence the program is harming people, says Sharon Koivu, an addiction specialist and researcher at London Health Sciences Center. She said, I'd done a lot of work in social justice advocacy for essentially all my life. So I've never been associated with anything right-wing. I don't consider my position to be a political one, just a voice of concern for the suffering that I've seen, Koivu told the London Free Press. Koivu's views on London's Safer Supply program recently were published in a National Post story and reiterated in recent attacks from Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre on the federal liberal addictions policies. Poilievre introduced a motion in the House of Commons Thursday calling for an end to safe supply programs in Canada, saying funding should go to treatment instead. Crime and chaos, drugs and disorder rage in our streets. Nowhere is this worse than in the opioid overdose crisis that has expanded so dramatically in the last several years, Poilievre said. The opioid crisis claimed 34,455 lives in Canada between 2016 and 2022, according to the latest Health Canada figures, with most of the deaths attributed to toxic street supplies of fentanyl. So toxic street supplies of fentanyl that often include crystal meth, cocaine, said Health Canada. Approximately 473 people have died from opioid-related problems in London alone, surrounding areas between 2016 and 22, with annual deaths increasing from 30 in 2016 to, get this, 130 in 2021, according to Public Health Ontario. So as we see, there's a huge increase in opioid use and deaths. So 35,000 deaths, 10% basically of Canada's, 1%. That's 1% of Canada's total population, basically, has died just from that alone. Listen to a bit of the debate in the House of Commons on this issue between Pierre Poilievre and Prime Minister Trudeau. At least politics is a little more entertaining these days. However, it's a very serious subject and one that needs our attention. So I would hope that if you're driving and you're able to turn it up a bit, be able to listen to this debate and what are your thoughts about the way that we handle our opioid crisis here in Canada.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition, please.
Furthermore, to quote a recent article on the matter, according to some experts I spoke to, this has caused the price of hydromorphine, the primary opioid dispensed at safer supply sites, to drop by an estimated 70 to 95% in cities with safer supply programs. In other words, the only thing that has been exempt from the Prime Minister's inflation is the powerful drugs that are killing people because he's subsidizing them and flooding them into our streets, including through dispensaries. Will the Prime Minister finally put an end to the deadly policies he's put in place that are killing our people?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the ongoing opioids epidemic is taking far too many lives across the country, whether it's families, whether it's workers, whether it's communities from coast to coast to coast. And we need to stay grounded in the science and the evidence in how we're going to respond to it. Now, the Conservatives' ideologically driven solutions are good for bumper stickers, Mr. Speaker, but they are not effective in supporting people in moving forward on a health-based approach to opioids, in making sure we are supporting people and getting them through this. We will continue with harm reduction.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
To be blunt, his policies are killing people. The number of deaths, the number of overdose deaths that have happened in this country, and in British Columbia in particular, where the policies of this government and the NDP are most advanced, are up by 300%. Those deaths were 75% lower before these policies came into place. But worse, beyond just subsidizing deadly drugs, now he wants to decriminalize crack, heroin, cocaine in partnership with the NDP government in BC. This policy is insane. It is killing people. Will the Prime Minister reverse it before it's too late for more Canadians?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the ideological fear-mongering coming from the Conservatives is all too typical and all too unfortunate. We have seen this kind of rhetoric before.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to stop everything again. We'll wait a few seconds. The Right Honourable Prime Minister, since we just started, please start from the top.
Mr. Speaker, the ideological fear-mongering from the Conservatives is alarming. It is the kind of rhetoric that we've seen all too often from the American far right and now here in Canada. We need to stay grounded in what the frontline responders are telling us, in what the frontline doctors and health experts have been doing to save lives across the country. We will continue to work on a harm reduction approach. We will continue to work with frontline partners. We will not be swayed by the ideological approach of the Conservatives on supporting people as we fight this epidemic.
The Leader of the Opposition.
What is truly alarming is a walk through many of our inner city streets. There he will see tent cities where people are lying face first on the ground because he has flooded those streets with taxpayer-funded drugs, and he has signed a deal with the NDP to decriminalize crack, heroin, cocaine, meth, and other drugs. He has imported this ideological and extremist policy from failed big American cities where the result has been exactly the same. So will he finally abandon his reckless and extremist policies in favor of a common sense plan that gives recovery and bring home our people?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, it feels like it's deja vu all over again. We spent years in opposition fighting against the Stephen Harper ideological approach that stood against harm reduction, that allowed people to die in the streets, that criminalized drug users. Mr. Speaker, that failed, and Canadians chose a different path in 2017, one grounded in evidence and science and compassion and a health approach to treating addictions, not a justice system approach to treating victims. We will not take any lessons from that ideologically driven, fact-free Conservative Party of Canada.
Yeah, so I guess I'm just throwing up in my mouth a little bit. But anyways, so that's what happens when you got to listen to that on a regular basis. Now, you could think I'm talking about either side, depending on what side you're on there. But the harm reduction in and of itself means to give people taxpayer-funded drugs in a safe environment with people around that can monitor the drug taking. That's the harm reduction. And to legalize crack cocaine, heroin, meth, legalize it, just like we legalized marijuana, because he said the far right-wing ideology of making drugs against the law is far right-wing, but yet they want to mandate you to wear a life jacket in your boat. And you'll get a fine if you're not. But they want to legalize cocaine, crack cocaine, crystal meth, heroin, and inject it into you or whatever. Allow you to come to a safe place to take them free of charge. But yet, you don't wear a seatbelt, you get a fine, or you don't wear your life jacket. So there's something weird about that. I think just common sense. Now, the conservatives, Pierre Poilievre, is saying they're more in favor of the full recovery of an individual, not just giving them drugs safely. And if you saw in that exchange, Pierre Poilievre used facts and numbers and statistics. And so this was a bit of a debate. And Prime Minister Trudeau used name calling. So there's tactics there, political tactics in a debate. And if I'm debating with you and I'm asking you, are our streets any safer since you came into office? And I give you statistics to show, and I just read them from this article, how many more people are dying of drug overdoses. And you just come back and you say, well, you just have a wrong way of thinking. You think like an extremist, and we can't deal with your ideology. So who wins that debate then? I made the point that are our streets any safer since you came into office? And are more people dying than ever before? 4 times more people are dying with this. So your methods you've been doing, like how are they been working? And then the response to that is, you're just a far right-wing extremist and nobody should listen to you. Yeah, I know who won that debate. So it doesn't matter what side of the political fence I'm on. You need to be able to come back and say, no, you're wrong. Where you got your statistics from is actually wrong, because these are the right statistics. And this is where we get our statistics from. So you speak in a debate, statistics to debate somebody. Name calling is always a tactic when you don't really have credible arguments to come back with. And we see this time and time again, and it's eventually, gonna come to a head when people just want to hear some substance. They want to hear some real facts about things, about the country they live in. They don't want to just hear political talking points and name calling. They actually want some real solutions, because we're living in a real country, in a real city, in a real body, where we're living a real life, not a make-believe one. And sure, ideologies are great, but we want to see what the results of those ideologies are. So, okay, so there's an ideology on one side. There's also an ideology on the other one. Let's talk about the ideologies. What are they? What are your founding principles of your belief system and your structure? What do you believe in? And why do you believe it? And why are you making the decisions that you're making? Why are you making laws that you're making? Why are you, what's the end game here? What do you actually believe in? And the more you peel back that onion, both sides aren't benevolent in any way, shape, or form, but there are some fundamental things that are flawed with that debate that we saw right there about facts on one side and name calling on the other. And that's all that was. And that's just what came along with the story. And I'm just giving you my take on it. So many comments came in while that was going on. I'll just do my best to share them on the screen as we move on to the next story here. This is local. So Capriol, the Batman, the Batman, was in Cape Real on the weekend. And even though the weather wasn't the greatest, there was a great turnout in Cape Real at the Train Heritage Museum, the Northern Ontario Railroad Museum and Heritage Center. For more on that, you can just click on the story on our Facebook page and read all about it. Okay, there's so many comments here. I'm trying to get through it and then get to our next story as well. There's nothing like a great political debate between the Conservatives and the Liberals. Liberal/NDP, I should say. They are kind of the uniparty now. I am not responsible for this. I did not kill Renee Sweeney. So we knew there'd be more of this coming out after the case for Robert Stephen Wright. Many people thought that he was innocent. And the story's coming from Sudbury.com. Robert Stephen Wright maintains his innocence as Sudbury judge considers his sentencing decision. Now, I know whenever you go in front of the judge after a trial, if you've been convicted of, the judge always wants to hear your remorse, and somehow that helps with your sentence, lightens it and whatever. And so the fact that he's maintaining his innocence is sticking to his guns, knowing that the Crown is seeking an 18-year parole ineligibility term for stabbing Renee Sweeney to death in 1998. Robert Stephen Wright stood up at the conclusion of his sentencing hearing at the Sudbury Courthouse on Friday and read from a short note. He said, "I'd like to express my sincerest sympathies for Renee Sweeney's family and friends. No one should have to go through losing a loved one like they have. I acknowledge and understand their grief, their sorrow, and their loss. However, I am not responsible for this. I did not kill Renee Sweeney. That is the truth. It'll always be." And then following the more than 3-hour hearing, Superior Court Judge Robbie Gordon reserved his decision on Wright's parole ineligibility. A jury found Wright guilty of second-degree murder in March. Justice Gordon will give his decision on June 29th. The second-degree murder conviction produced an automatic life sentence. The issue of Wright's parole ineligibility, however, still has to be decided. So there is Robert Stephen Wright still saying that he is indeed innocent of the crime of murder. And Miles is joining us this morning live. Miles, great to have you back. Prepared statement, yep, coached and from his lawyers for sure. Well, that's how court works, right? I mean, that's why you have a lawyer. And yeah, I guess what else are you going to say? It's all, whether or not he is guilty or not, has the community a bit divided. I was totally convinced that he was guilty until I've heard all kinds of other people sharing their views about it. And now I actually am not 100% sure. Sorry, he's guilty. A jury found it. Well, just the fact that a jury found it doesn't mean he is guilty of the crime according to the law. Now, whether he still did it or not, has anyone ever been convicted by a jury and then later found innocent by some means? Ever? Maybe once, even just once, not only in our recent history, but since the beginning of mankind or peoplekind, as Justin Trudeau would say. Has anyone ever been convicted of something they didn't do? Maybe once. So I'm just opening it up to the fact that still possibly, even though the trial has gone on, I've been found guilty in life of things that I didn't particularly do. And there's been many examples of that, I believe. Oh yeah, no, it's not just rumors that, so you said rumors are easy to believe for sure, but just because something happens in a court of law doesn't mean that it's ironclad. We've seen many examples where people have been convicted, even with all the evidence pointing to it, before DNA came out, people were convicted wrongly all the time. And then DNA comes out. So many people were freed because they were found innocent due to DNA evidence, even though they were convicted by a jury, convicted by a judge. All the evidence pointed to them. Like anyone would have said, well, for sure, they're guilty because of all the evidence. But then DNA comes out and like, oh, wait a minute. And then they look into it and they say, that's because this other guy was in the area at the time and blah, blah, blah. They put the story together afterwards, after the DNA comes out. But again, I'm just saying I don't know for sure. I'm just coming clean on that. I could have an opinion, but I don't have enough facts to even have the opinion. So to almost believing it's fact, okay, still the fact of DNA. There was DNA involved in this as well. And so the question was, how did it end up under his fingernails? Right? So that's what I mean. So it looks very darn incriminating. But again, I don't 100% know for sure. Thank you. Stay safe and have a great day, everyone. That's Tracy. I guess she's signing off. And Miles, you're very, very involved today. The other guy wasn't even in the city at the time. He was in Owen Sound. Oh, for sure. Yeah. And I'm not saying maybe it wasn't even the other guy, right? What I'm saying is I don't know 100%. I'm giving it that it could be very, very true that everything was exactly the way that the court said it was. He could very well be guilty as everything. That's what I'm saying. I'm 100% that he could be guilty. I don't have the time, the resources, the money, and all that to have really looked into it like possibly journalists could or people in the courts do. And so that's their jobs to do it. And he was, in fact, found guilty. So if he is guilty, there he is. So he'll be going to jail for a long time. And that's that. So with that, we got to leave it there. I thought I'd have time for the digital currency. Maybe tomorrow we'll get into that. So thanks for being with us, everyone. Stay tuned now for Earshot Daily on CKLU 96.7 FM. We'll see you same time, same place tomorrow. Have a great one, everyone. Ciao.
This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.